Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and welcome to the smaller pieces of heavy metal once again, and this time real metal and not any kind of plastic aircraft. Welcome back to the FENIX Airbus A320, and indeed we are going long haul with it today, in that we are going to simulate the Saudi flight 235 from Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, over to Zurich, the semi-capital of Switzerland. So before we actually start going into our flight, let's go ahead and have a quick review of our flight plan, and thereafter we'll get going. So we start right down here today on the map, and this is what the flight looks like. We are gonna go southbound through some GPS jamming area over the southern Sinai, and then later on Cairo, across Greece, and then all the way towards Zurich. So the significant weather charts do show us quite a bit of a jet stream that's facing us from straight on, and we do have that number 1 down here as well, which is moderate turbulence up to flight level 400, and then once we pass the Egyptian coast, we're hopefully going to stay out of that until entering that area of occasional cumulonimbus up here in the northern part of Greece. And once we are through that, we got another turbulence area that comes with a jet stream up here. So it's going to be a rather turbulent flight today, as we can already say from just looking at the significant weather charts. Now, if we take a look into the weather itself, though, we can see we have good weather conditions pretty much everywhere. Zurich might be a little bit gusty, or it may not, we'll see about that. And our alternate Geneva is pretty good as well. Going to the top then, if we depart on time, we are unfortunately going to arrive delayed. For this reason, we are going to think about taking a little bit of extra fuel here. However, we got to be careful since we are only 1.7 tons from the maximum takeoff weight. Now, since we are flying the A320 today, that's not going to be too much of an issue, and that actually is quite a bit of margin. But for some other aircraft, that might be something to think about. Also worth noting that we only have 132 passenger seats in this aircraft, so we are indeed going to carry only 130 guests, which is the reason for the pretty low zero fuel weight, which already includes quite a bit of cargo. So if we scroll down a little bit into the fuel section, then we can see that we are planned to take off at 19.3, and we can see that basically we can't take much discretionary fuel since we'll simply be completely full. So that's all we can do up here. Now we can fly a little bit faster with that, but it's not really going to shove off anything of the flight itself. So pretty much completely maxed out today. So we are just going to go with a full load of fuel. Alright, with that much now discussed, let's go ahead and run over into our cockpit and start to actually set the aircraft up for the flight today. So welcome to the A320 cockpit, or rather the A320 cabin. Just looks so incredibly small after flying the A350 for such a long time here. But well, this is going to be our home for the next 6 hours of flight time. So let's take a seat on the captain's seat, and then we'll start setting our aircraft up for today's service. So safety inspection first, thrust levers idle, start levers off, engine mode selector norm, landing gear lever down, wiper selectors off, and we are already running off the APU, so nothing to consider over there. Then we still need to do the APU fire test, so let's go ahead and do that now. And I also do want to go ahead and just do a realignment of the IRSs, so I'm going to turn them all off, wait a couple of seconds, and when that is done we are going to turn them back on again. So basically now, 1, 2, and 3, perfect. So then let's go over into our electronic flight back here for a moment and see what we've got. In 15 minutes we have our scheduled off-block time, and for the mass and balance we are going to go with a completely full tank, please. What's the highest we can enter? What happens if I just enter 20 tons? Then it just goes to 19,000. Okay, well that's fine with me, so apply load, and you can load that in a fast time scenario, please. Alright, cool. So that's now going on. Then let's go over and calculate our takeoff data. So we'll synchronize the load sheet, synchronize the weather, hit calculate, and surprise, we can go. Now, I just want to be completely sure here and use the config 2 takeoff. and we can still go without any problems. Performance limited is far above the structural max takeoff weight, so takeoff is not going to be a problem here. So the next thing for us to do is to prepare our charts, and we are going to use the Navigraph charts here. And I just really love the little FENIX feature here that the aircraft can just pre-select your SID from your flight plan in the chart menu up here. Last but not least, we do have our OFP on board, and that's it. So then let's go ahead and ensure that our aircraft is safe for service. So we have sufficient oxygen on board, we do have sufficient hydraulic quantity on board, we do have sufficient engine oil on board, and the flaps are retracted, so they agree on the position. The speed brake lever does as well. Park and brake, we can release that here for a moment and just push the brakes. Alright, and the alternate brakes are confirmed to work, so the park and brake lever is set again. In terms of the aircraft's technical status, let's do the recall here for 3 seconds. And here we are. So we do have the flight controls, left side stick fault, calibrate null zones, but as you can see, I actually have no problem moving the stick, so we can clear that. And I am going to use the emergency cancel so that it is not going to come back for the remainder of our flight. Very good, and with that our aircraft is accepted for service. So let's go down into the ATSU and already initialize the flight uplink. And while that's ongoing, we can start with our flight deck inspection and the pre-flight procedures. There's not actually all that much for us to do today though. So that's all looking good. Up here everything is good as well, and down here as well. So moving down to the main panel, let's go ahead and set up that QNH, which is 1014. Here we go. And since we are flying through GPS jamming area, we'll set the time to the aircraft's internal timer. So 1 to 2.8, 1 to 1.5, we want to listen to both and the interphone. Ground clutter suppression on, weather radar is off and now also calibrated. And over here, transponder standby, number 1, altitude transmit on, TCAS and above, that's all looking good. Alright, perfect. So with that, we can go right down into our flight plan and our FMS. So let's get that right up here. And here we go. So starting on the data page, we're in A320-200 CFM engines. The nav database is current and up to date. Scratch pad messages are checked. Then let's go to the init page, do the init request, which may take a little while to arrive. In the meantime, we can enter our call sign, which is Sierra Victor Alpha 235. The flight plan uplink may take a little while here, that's quite normal. I tell you what, let's get that table out over here. That's pretty much mandatory Airbus stuff after all. Flight plan still uplinking. I tell you what, while that's going on, let's go up here already, set up our FCU. So is there any initial climb on that departure chart? 8,000. And since we haven't gotten clearance, I'm setting 8,100. So, ground from flight deck. Mind your ears, oxygen test. Okay, and here is our route uplink. So, Riyadh to Zurich, alternate Geneva, Saudia 235, and we've got a cost index of 20. Cruise flight level is going to be 340, and the temperature up there will be minus 47 degrees. Ground temperature is plus 27, and the tropopause is in 53,000. Right, cool. Then onto the flight plan, and our departure runway is going to be 15 left with the Ivonu 1 Echo departure. Insert that. Now let's have a quick look over. That's it. So this is really the point where, even on my 42-inch screen, I find it hard to read things here. Would be so nice if we could just move that EFB a little bit. But okay, here we go. So straight out to 2,500, maximum 230 knots. Then we are gonna make a left-hand turn to Romeo Kilo 904, maximum 230 and above 4,000 feet. Then we continue towards Romeo Kilo 911, maximum 250, waypoint 921, maximum 250 and above 10,000, waypoint 920 above 13,000, and then we've got waypoint 952 above flight level 160, and then we continue on towards Ivonu. So far so good. For the arrival into Zurich, we are expecting an ILS approach runway 14 for the time being, and we are coming in via Negra, so it's the Negra 2 Alpha arrival, and I do think that one ends in Relax, but let's have a look real quick. No, Amiki. So then we take the Amiki 14 transition and insert. So 2,529 miles, and that basically matches the distance from our flight plan. Alright, very good. So secondary flight plan OERK 15 left /147/25. That's going to be our engine outset. Pick up a holding over there, 147 right hand turns. From here, new destination, Oscar Echo Romeo Kilo. And then we can come back with an ILS Yankee approach runway 15 left. And that's it. Now the same thing for the fixed info page. OERK 15 left on a radial 147. And the PDD01 point is going to be our engine out point on the fixed info page. Now at this point I normally go to the pilot routes and store that flight plan so that we could check all the airways, but unfortunately FENIX haven't really implemented that very well, so yeah, we can't really do anything there. So let's move right on to our performance initialization. So 57.4 is our zero fuel weight, we don't know any CG yet, block fuel 19.1, taxi fuel 0.2, that is correct, and then let's see, alternate is 1.6, and the final 1.1. So headwind 36 knots is going to be our average wind, and then let's see what kind of time prediction that gives us. Slightly negative, but that's going to be alright. Let's see, 3% contingency. We end up exactly with 0 extra fuel, so I'm kind of happy with that. Let's go ahead and enter our takeoff data. Config 2, 50 degrees. And the speeds are going to be 149, 153, 157, and that's with the packs off. So for the noise abatement, let's check that real quick. Field elevation 2053, so NADP1 has us accelerate at 1000 each and 1500 over here. That's looking good. We don't need to pre-select any speeds, so we are running good over here. So last thing for us to do is to enter our departure runway down here on the progress page, and with that we are basically done setting up our FNS. Optimum 320, maximum 352. That's gonna be alright. We'll talk about that again when we're actually in flight. Alright, and that's our FMS done. So with that, we're basically done setting everything up over here. Fueling is finished, so the seatbelts are gonna come on, and then we can do our departure briefing, please. Okay, so we are departing Riyadh, runway 15 left, and our SID is going to be the Ivonu 1 Echo departure, initial climb to 8,000 feet. MSA is, let's see, 5,000 feet, and in terms of extra fuel, we have pretty much zero. Alright, thanks. So no hotspots for our taxi out, stop margin for RTO. Well, I think FENIX doesn't calculate that, do they? No, they don't. Alright. So we don't know any stop margin here, but 4,200 meters of runway shouldn't be too much of an issue for the A320. In case we have to make an immediate return, we are of course far above the max landing weight, being at the max takeoff weight. We can come back immediately. We have to do the overweight landing procedure if time permits. If time does not permit, as long as it isn't any fire on the engine number 1, we can always just start the APU, fire up APU bleed, and then land back that way. Well, and I think that's pretty much it over here. Do you have any questions or suggestions? No? Okay. So we'll close you, then the parking brake is set, so let's get GSX to start preparing the aircraft for pushback. And in the meantime, I will say hello to our passengers. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. Very good morning, my name is Emmanuel. In the name of Saudi Airlines, welcome aboard our flight 235 to Zurich. The flight time today has been calculated at 6 hours. We do expect a couple of bumps along the way as we have some very strong winds that we will be crossing. So as long as you are in your seats, please do keep your seat belts fastened, even if the fasten seatbelt sign is turned off. Thank you very much for being our guests today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Once again, thank you very much for your attention and welcome aboard. And did I just do that PA on the cabin interphone? Alright, doesn't matter. I don't want to waste that piece of time now. So come on, why has GSX not connected anything? We do see the nose wheel steering disconnect memo. Here they go. That's better. Alright, cool. So, cockpit preparation checklist, please. Gear pins and covers removed. Why are they opening the door again? Annoying. Well, then we're just gonna leave the beacon on. That's an absolute no-go in the real world, but looks like they want us to do it that way in the sim. Stupid GSX bug. Okay, continue the checklist. Fuel quantity, 18,990 kilograms balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs, nav, barrel ref, QNH 1014. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. And now we're stuck with an open door, or what is this? Oh, GSX. Incredibly annoying piece of software. So, one left is closed. Now we just got to see if they're actually going to arm it or not. Otherwise we might have to cycle the fasten seatbelt sign again. But let's wait a moment and see what's going to happen. In the meantime, the load sheet has arrived, so let's go ahead and start working on that one. So, let's see, received messages, and of course there is far too many of them. 1, 2, and 3. I literally only care about the last one here. So, compliance with edition number 2 on the 31st of March 2025. Riyadh to Zurich on the Hotel Zulu Alpha Sierra Charlie, which is our aircraft. Excellent. So, 2 pilots, 4 cabin crew, 0 fuel weight, 57.7. So 57.7 slash, what do we have? 28.1. Alright, and that's 76.6 versus 76.5, 130 passengers, good enough for me. Let's see, takeoff CG 22.5, so that's somewhere up here, so we're looking at about an up trim of 1.3. Okay, perfect. So takeoff weight is unchanged compared to our previous plan. And that's all looking good. Now they've armed the door as well. Alright, very cool. So before start, checklist please. Park and brake. Set. Takeoff speeds and thrusts. V1 149, VR 153, V2 157, flex 50. Windows are closed and the beacon on before start checklist complete. So, ground for flight deck. Salam alaikum. Please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed and we're ready to push. Thank you very much. Runway 15 left in use and you're clear to start the push whenever you're ready. Park and brake is set. So nose will go to the right. Okay, release park and brake please. Park and brake released. Thank you. Starting the pushback, stand by for engine start. Roger that. Well, my friends, and here we go. Off to another exciting flight with the FENIX A320. And I think it is the longest one that we've done so far, isn't it? Okay, clear to start the engines. Starting 1 and 2 in sequence. Engine 1 start. Just gotta love those sounds. The good old CFM 56. What's GSX doing? Okay, stop pushback please. Looks like they're stopping on their own, are they? Yeah. But come on, this is getting expensive here in a few moments. Right, good start on 1, starting 2. And the push is complete, set brakes. Brake set. So, engine 2 started progress. She's doing strange things, grabbing the air over there. And what exactly is she doing now? The pin is still in. At least the wing walkers aren't suicidal today. That's a good thing. Alright, so we have 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect, show me the pin in front, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Alright, so that wing walker, did I just say he wasn't suicidal? Well, there we go. At least here's our ramp agent and she's holding a pin in her hands. So let's do the after start checklist. Anti-ice, off, ecom status, checked, pitch trim, 22.5% up, and rudder trim neutral. After start checklist complete, flight control check. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Alright, clear left side and clear right side. Our taxi routing leads us via Echo, Romeo, Golf to the full length. Brake released. Let's go. So brake check. Pressure 0. So next turn to the right. That means we don't have to accelerate too far on the apron over here anymore. Looks like we actually need a little bit of thrust to even keep the aircraft moving forward at these speeds. So, clear right side. So what's this? Watch for aircraft. Oh yeah, you better do, my friends. It's not like we're on an airport after all. But remember, there's a story for any sign. And I'm fairly sure there's gonna be one for this one as well. Okay, right side clear, left side clear. Then it continues straight ahead onto Golf, which is the second to the left. Both sides are clear. And here we go. It's really been a while since we've flown the FENIX on the channel here, hasn't it? Alright, so I've got no changes to the takeoff briefing. So, taxi checklist please. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conv 2, radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto. Engine mode selector. Norm, ECAM memo, takeoff, no blue. Taxi checklist complete. I gotta admit, I've been better at maintaining the center line than I am right now. But the FENIX just handled so different from the A350 and the A380, which are the two main aircraft we've flown over the past couple of weeks over here. So yeah, I guess that explains why my handling may be a little bit sloppy here. But it maintains those 30 knots very, very nicely. Have to give it that. So, initial altitude 8,000, by now we definitely should have our ATC clearance. Well done, let's have a little look at our TCAS, see if there's anyone or anything coming. But that looks pretty clear. And visually the approach is confirmed clear as well. So, cabin crew, prepare for departure. Line up checklist. Takeoff runway, 15 left full length. TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2, off, line up checklist complete. So we certainly take that full length. Are you ready to go? Yes? Wonderful. Takeoff. Manflex 50, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. Yep, a little bit of wind here. $110 knots.
Traffic.
Disregard. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Checked. Do I actually see that guy anywhere? No, huh? And you can immediately feel the reason why we had a bit of issues maintaining the aircraft on the center line here. First line climb auto thrust. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So 230 knots speed restriction and clean is 238, so we'll just keep those 230 initially. Now have a good look at our flaps. As soon as we pass 210 knots they will automatically retract. Here you can see it. Yep, clear that, and pull speed 220. Just to avoid accidentally overspeeding the aircraft. Alright, packs on please. So you need to wait 10 seconds between the two packs. Here we go. Okay, so the next speed restriction is 250, so managed speed and flaps 0. A little bit bumpy here, but nothing all too bad. So, continue climb to flappable 150, and that's set. Let's see what our transition altitude is, 13,000. So the temperatures are good, we can enter those clouds without anti-ice. Surprise, surprise. And then, autopilot 1. So strange to fly such a small aircraft again, especially on a 6-hour flight. So this is really pretty much the maximum range that the A320 can take. But with only 130 seats on board, I'm sure this is going to be a fairly luxurious service. So strange to see a green dot speed that high on the A320 family. It's just 10 knots shy of what you could get on the A330 at maximum takeoff weight, so that's quite amazing. So 250 knot restriction over the next waypoint, so don't be surprised if we don't continue to accelerate when passing 10,000. Our engines are nicely back in climb, so we don't need that timer here anymore. We do have the elapsed timer running down here after all. And then passing 10,000. Lights off. It is a little bit turbulent, so I am going to keep the seatbelt signs on, and then we can do clear and copy, please. So now, optimum is still 320, cruising 340, maximum 354. I tell you what, we'll actually go up to level 340, as is calculated by dispatch. Normally they have something in mind when they give you these levels, so we'll assume that it is correct this time as well. Apart from that, back onto the en route chart. And except for turning off the fasten seatbelt sign, there really isn't all that much more to do. So I tend to say, from this point onwards, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. After around 6 hours flight time, 6 hours and 5 minutes to be precise over here, we are now about approaching Zurich. So first thing first, we will start to reduce our airspeed down to 250 knots when reaching level 100, and we've got just 1,000 feet to go here, so let's reduce our vertical speed now already, and then I suppose we are going to go over a quick approach briefing, as I have already set everything up during the cruise for you. So ILS approach to runway 14 is the matter of the day. The minimum to that is 1602, so let's just quickly go ahead and enter that one. Apart from that, I have already configured the aircraft for a config 3 approach, and everything is nicely set up for this one. So let's go into the details over here by going over the approach briefing, and then we have alt start. Great, so it will be radar vector ILS approach runway 14, the minimum as just said 1602, the MSA depending on where we are around 4,500 in the north of Zurich airport here, which is where any and all of our navigation is going to take place. Now in case of missed approach, it's going to be a left turn out, and we have an extra fuel of half an hour. Sounds very good. So flight director guided ILS approach runway 14, config 3 and no auto brakes. We have sufficient stop margin to vacate the runway at the end, and we are gonna cross runway 28 and then end up somewhere on the other side, I suppose. Apart from that, I have no threats for this one. Terrain is a bit of a thing, so the terrain display is on, but we have perfect visibility today, so I'm basically not worried about the terrain at all either. You have any questions on that one? No? Wonderful. Then let's do the 10 checks. So light signs, constraints, LS. And GPS primary high accuracy with a mode selector in norm. Right, perfect. So let's descend down to 7,000 feet and set QNH. And just a quick check of what the actual QNH is right now. So update that please. And the QNH is 1024. So set QNH. And that's QNH 1024 cross-check passing 8,500 now. That's checked, thank you very much. And then let's go ahead with the approach checklist, please. Alright, approach checklist, barrel reference, QNH 1024, seatbelts on, minimum is barrel 1602, auto brake off, engine mode selector, norm, approach checklist completed. Very good, so 2 modes to run. Hello, Emmanuel here.
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Alright, excellent. Let's start reducing our speed towards 210 knots, and then we'll continue our descent momentarily. In the meantime, from here on, it's going to be radar vectors, so extend the center line, please. Direct to radial into Osman. And that looks good. Insert. Full heading. Heading. Wonderful. Activate approach phase. And to be honest, those 210 are so close to the green dot speeds, we might as well just manage this. Okay, so thrust out, open descent, alt 4000 blue, turn left, heading 230. And that's going to be the base vector for our approach. Let's see, we are 6 miles from Osnam, and we got to reach Osnam in 4,000. So we got to lose 3,000 feet. We are 6 miles from it right now, so a little bit of a speed brake may be required over here. Let's bring him out half. That's all we're gonna get with the autopilot on anyway. But we gotta have an eye on our VLS down here, make sure that it doesn't get too close to our actual airspeed. So flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps 1. And selected speeds. Okay, approaching the glide slope here. Spoilers are going back in. Managed speed. A little bit of a 10 knot tailwind here. That's not going to be too much of an issue, but we gotta keep that in consideration when turning base in a few moments. Well, and then autopilot off and auto thrust off. Right, turn left, heading 170, cleared ILS approach, runway 14. Cat 1, glide slope and localizer blue. Lock start. So let's use a little bit of thrust to fly ourselves into the glide slope. Localizer alive. So the wind has actually gotten stronger closer to the ground here. 20 knots now. Lock. nice look star. Go around altitude, initially 4,000 feet is set. Glide slope. So the field elevation is 1400, that means at 3400 on our altimeter we are going to start to configure the aircraft. About 7 knots tailwind component right now. That's fine. It's an A320, not an A319, so we will be able to lose that speed. Okay, a little bit of speed brake here. And then as soon as the speed is safely away from the VFE next, flaps 2. Speed checked. Flaps 2. Speed brakes back in, gear down. Okay, flaps 3. Speed checked. Flaps 3. And I tell you what, we actually have to use some more speed brake here to lose that airspeed. That wind is nasty right now. Checked. Stable approach gate is 500 feet, so we are fine for the time being. Landing checklist, econ memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Alright, just about stable at the gate. Now we've just got to make it a good one. A little bit gusty from the left. Land.
300. 200. 100 above.
Checked.
Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
Touchdown. And we have spoilers, reverse green, decel. Man, you can definitely feel those gusts over here. Alright, manual brakes. 70 knots. Well, and here we are. Welcome to Zurich. So we'll start that timer, and then we'll vacate the runway and taxi off to our parking stand. Now let's get those engines out of reverse so that we actually keep rolling a little bit here. So unfortunately I couldn't really get hold of any good data of where we would be parking. For this reason I'll just go somewhere over here to Terminal Echo. Normally I rather recognize that at the wide-body terminal, but since we are arriving from a long haul here, I'm kind of thinking that would be where we would park. But if you know better, be sure to put it in the comments below. Alright, so after landing checklist, radar and predictive wind shear off, after landing checklist complete. 6 hours and 15 minutes. That's definitely got to be the longest FENIX flight we've done so far. But I've had a good load of fun. So let's go somewhere over here next to that A340. Or perhaps those seem to be the wide body gates. Let's go over there next to the Aer Lingus and the Tunis Air. I think that might fit a little bit better. So, APU available, and we have 3 minutes since high thrust operation, shutdown engine 2. And then something in between over here next to the Aer Lingus. Seems like a good parking stand to me. So what's that one here? Echo 44. So speed down below 10, and here we go. Looks like I do need to help with a little bit of thrust here on the remaining engine. I might just have used a little bit too much manual braking here. Alright, and stop. That looks good to me. Not perfect, but fair enough. So, cabin crew, all doors in park. Alrighty, everything is running down. 13:06, so we are like how late? You can commence deboarding there. Well, 20 minutes late, so be it. Okay. Parking checklist, please. Parking brake out trucks, brake set, engines off, wing lights off, and fuel pumps off. Parking checklist complete. So, external power is connected, then the trucks are also in position so we can release those brakes. Let's have a look down here at the fuel. That fuel use doesn't make sense. There's got to be something wrong with those gauges. Anyway. We'll leave them right there. So then, everything is set up here. Let's already do a quick check of how our IRSs worked. Then we can shut them off, and that's looking very good. 3 very good IRSs installed on this aircraft. Alright. Well, my friends, that's all I have to offer for you today. I sure hope you found this one as interesting as I did. Surely something different from the usual flights we do on this channel, and a very different route. So leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.